working on. Have to play it in a month or so. That's from Bach's Christmas Oratorio. I'm sure you guys all know it. And if not, you should know it because it's a really great piece. But anyway, after a bit of an absence, I'm back talking about trumpet tips for students, particularly. And one of these is a question that comes up all the time. It did when I was a student, and I'm sure it has with you guys at some point, which is you have a week and you haven't practiced much. And you come to your lesson and you have a bit of a dilemma. Do you tell your teacher that you did not practice much? Or do you just wing it and try to cover it up and hope for the best? Well, no matter what happens, whichever way you go, the teacher is going to know whether you practiced or not. It doesn't matter how good you could think you could fake it, you cannot fake it. Your teacher is always going to know whether you actually worked on the material or not. So you might as well, in my opinion, just fess right up and tell them, him or her, that you did not have time to practice that week for whatever reason, whatever the excuse du jour is. And we all have our excuses. Trust me, I've used them all. But it's pointless to not tell your teacher right away, because if you haven't practiced, that can inform your teacher as to how best to approach that lesson. They're going to approach it differently knowing that you just haven't spent the time on it. And they're not going to spend 20 minutes trying to go over a technique that could have just been solved if you had practiced it that week. It wastes everybody's time, I think, if you don't tell the teacher right away that you didn't practice. Because if you did get your practicing done and you have a struggle on a particular technique or passage of music, then a teacher is going to work at it differently with you, because they're assuming that you actually really know this thing and you've worked it in your chops quite a bit. They're going to approach it differently than if you just have not worked it at all and your chops simply do not know it. So that's my tip for you today, this week. Fess up, tell your teacher when you haven't practiced, because they're going to know anyway.